Good evening. Y muy buenas tardes a todos. My name is Ken Cuellar, and I'm the proud principal here at Prieto Math and Science Academy. It is with great pleasure and excitement that we extend a warm welcome to all of our distinguished guests, including the Honorable Mayor Brandon Johnson, CPS leaders, yes, CPS leaders and staff, along with city and state representatives. We are honored to have you at Prieto today. As we gather here, it is crucial to acknowledge the profound impact that the COVID-19 pandemic has had in our community. In particular, Belmont-Cragen, who has been one of the hardest hit communities in the city. The trauma endured by its residents, by our residents, and its effects have resonated deeply within our community. Since 2020, our school counselors have received many referrals for support. 206, to be exact, from scholars grappling with the devastating loss of a parent or a loved one due to the pandemic. In addition, 126 of the scholars that have faced unimaginable hardships, such as losing their homes, whether due to a fire, eviction, or other circumstances. These numbers represent not just a statistic, but the real lived experiences for some of our scholars and their families. The pandemic has exacerbated existing inequalities and vulnerabilities, leaving many in our community grappling with grief, uncertainty, and instability. Prieto has also welcomed many newcomer scholars from South America, specifically from Venezuela and Ecuador. The influx of families from these regions has enriched our school community with diverse perspectives, cultures, traditions, and experiences. And as we continue to welcome and support these newcomers, we embrace the opportunity to learn from each other and celebrate the strength and resilience that they bring to our school. Together, we are building a more inclusive and welcoming environment where every scholar feels valued and empowered to succeed. I am deeply grateful for Mayor Brandon Johnson and his new initiative aimed at providing much-needed support to schools in our communities, in particular Belmont-Cragen, including the implementation of the restorative justice coordinators. This initiative will play a pivotal role in addressing the diverse needs of Belmont-Cragen and fostering a culture of healing and restoration within our schools. I would also like to thank and extend my heartfelt appreciation to Network 3 Chief Jennifer Farrell-Rotman, Deputy Chief Latasha Javrola, and the rest of the Network 3 team for their unwavering commitment to our school community. Your dedication and support have been instrumental in helping us be able to navigate these challenging times. I want to also give a special thank you to Pastor John Zayas and his team from Grace and Peace Church, the By the Hand community, Intentional Sports, my Northwest Center family, Alderman Villegas and Senator Aquino's office for their invaluable contributions and ongoing support. Your partnership and generosity have made a significant difference in the lives of our scholars and their families, and we are incredibly grateful for your continued collaboration. So I want to thank you all again for being here, and with that, I turn it over to Noreen from the Mayor's office. Thank you, everyone.
Good evening. It's so nice to welcome you all here today. My name is Noreen Hashim Javani, and I'm the Director of Gender-Based Violence and Health Policy here on the Mayor's office. Today's conversation is an important one. It's an opportunity for us to be in conversation with each other about how we can ensure mental health services are not just available, but also accessible to all Chicagoans. An estimated 75% of Chicago adults are classified as having moderate or serious psychological distress, but are not receiving care for it. We need a more robust mental health response, including public infrastructure for clinical care, a citywide crisis response program, and extensive community outreach. In line with Mayor Johnson's vision for a better, stronger, safer future for Chicago, where our youth and communities have the resources to thrive, his commitment to treatment, not trauma, remains a core policy priority. At its heart, this policy aims to expand our system for mental health care, create new responses to crises, and provide support to those communities most in need. Today, like the years of advocacy that have come before us, we are moving forward. Our team has been working for the last 5 months to drive a community-informed process to develop a roadmap for making these vital services more available. Now I would like to call Alderwoman Rossana Rodriguez-Sanchez, who has been a fierce advocate for this work.
Hello, everybody. I'm very, very happy to be here today. Very grateful to the Prieto community for allowing us to have this conversation here. 4 years ago, I introduced the Treatment Not Trauma ordinance alongside an incredible coalition that had been organizing for almost 10 years to be able to reopen the shuttered mental health clinics in Chicago. We fought for a very long time to be heard, to make sure that we created the structures of care that our communities desperately need in order to be safe. Now, we are finally having these conversations with community. Community has been hosting. We are very excited to move forward with what we want Treatment Not Trauma to be, which is creating a real safety net, public, that is rooted in absolute care for our communities. That's how we are going to prevent, that's how we are going to treat, that's how we are going to heal. And I am really excited that we are joined today by Mayor Brandon Johnson, who is going to talk to us about this initiative.
Thank you, Alder, for that introduction, and thank you for your advocacy. Good evening, everyone. I am really grateful to be here. It's always good to end the day in the neighborhood, especially when it's 5 minutes away from where you live. So it's great to be in Belmont Cragen. What a dynamic community. And I'm grateful that there are so many people who are profoundly connected to the neighborhoods in a way that ultimately is preparing us to bring real transformation for the entire city of Chicago. You know, this work is work that requires us to come together and to collaborate and to have leaders in city council that I get to share this responsibility in is comforting. So I'm grateful for our local alderman, Alderman Villegas. Thank you for your leadership. I'm not sure if Alderwoman Cruz has made it here yet. There she is. Hey, how you doing? And of course, Alderman Cardona, thank you for being here. And to Principal Culler, thank you for your sharpness, your brilliance, your bravery, and most of all, your love for humanity. It really rings through. Can we give our principal another round of applause? So you all know, West Siders, we travel deep. So I have several deputy mayors with me today. Our Deputy Mayor of Education, Youth and Human Services, Jen Johnson. Deputy Mayor for Community Safety, Garion Gatewood. Our Deputy Mayor for Facilities and Fleet Management, Lori Lipson. Our Chief of Policy, Yumi Grigsby. And all of the representatives joining us from the Chicago Departments of Public Health, Fleet and Facility Management, the Office of Emergency Management and Communications, and of course the Office of Budget and Management. We also have a board member here. Tanya Woods is with us. Thank you, Board Member Woods. Look, I'll try to expedite my comments because I know you all are ready to come together and to have real substantive conversations around how we can finally have treatment over trauma. Implementing Treatment Not Trauma is a campaign promise that I'm proud that we kept as a city. It's a priority in my administration. It's one of our top priorities. Some of you know of my personal story, and I had a chance to share it earlier. My older brother who struggled with his mental health. Unfortunately, the language that we have today and the efforts that are before us in this moment did not exist 20, 25 years ago. And because his trauma was untreated, he died addicted and unhoused. And so we know that many of you all in this room are also carrying the responsibility and, quite frankly, the burden of having brothers and sisters and parents who are struggling like my older brother did. And so my vision for Chicago, I see all residents having access to equitable and affordable quality mental health services. That has to be a right. If we empower every single resident with the care and support that they need to lead healthy, stable lives, then we can strengthen the whole of all of our communities to build truly a better, stronger, and a much safer Chicago. As part of my commitment to treatment, not trauma, I'm committed to expanding mental health clinics throughout the city to ensure that the public has access to these services. My administration plans to deliver on that promise to reopen mental health clinics, and we plan on delivering that this year, opening 2 community mental health clinics in neighborhoods that need the additional services to reverse the past of prior administrations shutting down those services. I'm looking forward to that work. Because health clinics are important, and my administration has identified several strategies that will help us identify the phases that it will take in order for us to meet this vision. And one is a plan to layer mental health services into existing CDPH clinics that don't currently offer mental health services. We will also identify opportunities to make sure that we embed clinical services at locations that offer an array of city services from DFSS, CPS, CPL, and all other agencies. We will explore partnerships with the county and the state to expand our clinic network, as well as explore the idea of opening new mental health clinics in neighborhoods with the highest unmet needs. And finally, we will explore the reopening of mental health clinics, of course, that were closed 2 administrations ago. And through all of our work to open clinics and develop recommendations from the treatment, not trauma policy, we want to make sure that we do this collectively. We call that co-governance. That's critical. People who are closest to the pain are closest to the solutions. And my administration realizes the importance of bringing community members, experts and advocates and stakeholders to the table to ensure that our policy will be effectively a part of the process of really healing our communities. And over the last 5 months, my office has hosted 10 community engagement sessions to gain a better understanding of our community's priorities. I commend everyone in this room in particular who have contributed their time and resources and voices to drive this initiative. In the months and years ahead, together we will further develop the city's alternate response program, ensuring that first responders are equipped and culturally informed to respond to calls around mental health crises. It is time that we move away from a police-centered response for mental health crisis and begin to respond with compassion, care, and real support. Currently, the city's Crisis Alternate Response and Engagement Program, also known as CARE, the CARE teams, is piloted in a handful of neighborhoods. And my administration plans to expand it and make alternate response a permanent part of our city's first response landscape. I want to thank and acknowledge our CARE teams who are already doing this work and showing us that, and really showing us that alternate or alternative response models actually do work. As we expand upon this model, we will be intentional. We will be intentional about coordinating the first responders and community partners, intentional about investing in the infrastructure needed to connect clients with resources to meet their basic needs. We will be intentional about engaging with the community to promote both mental health services and job opportunities in the field. We will be intentional about staffing our alternate response teams with people who reflect our communities and, of course, who are prepared to operate in a culturally informed and trauma-informed way. And this will be what I like to call the full force of government, an effort with all of our departments, particularly public health, family and support services, our Chicago public schools, our public libraries, and others working together to expand mental health services and clinics throughout the city of Chicago. Our ultimate goal, our primary goal, is that we provide mental health services without barriers. That when, where, and however individuals and families need these services, the city of Chicago shows up for those families. And finally, whether we're in living rooms, peer-to-peer spaces, or in clinics, we will meet residents where they are, and we will do it with compassion and understanding and full support. And tonight's community meeting is an opportunity for you to tell us more about your ideas and considerations as we go about doing this work in an intentional way. Your lived experiences, your voice, they're critical to informing the city on our pathway moving forward. I truly appreciate you all really coming out this evening, especially because you're contributing your time, your effort, your love, your brilliance, and your experiences to help build a better, stronger, safer Chicago. I look forward to returning to this community again soon. I've already received 2 invitations before I even walked into the principal's office, which, by the way, the last thing you tell a brother when he pulls up that his first stop is in the principal's office. But I thank you for the partnerships, and I am even grateful for the one Sox fan that is here tonight. God bless you all, and God bless the greatest city in the world, the city of Chicago, and go Cubs. And I'm sorry, I can't believe I forgot this. The Alder of the 26th Ward is also here, Alder Jesse Fuentes. Yes, and I did get Ruth Cruz too, right? Yeah. She snuck in, right, when I was coming up. And then now I'm going to introduce, well, I'm just going to sit down, whoever's next. Thank you all.
You're good. Let me see. There we go. Hello, everyone. My name is Claudia Guzman, and I work in the Mayor's Office for Community Engagement. And we're just going to go real quick through what the rest of the agenda of the meeting is going to be, right? We had Noreen spoke to us. We had Alderwoman Rossana Rodriguez spoke to us, and then the mayor spoke to us. Next up, we're going to do a presentation from the steering and the working group. And then after the presentations, we're going to go into breakout groups. I'll instruct you where you will move afterwards, but if you look at the colored check marks on your discussion questions, that kind of tells you where you're gonna go. And then we'll do a wrap up. You'll be able to leave directly from your rooms. There's no need to come back here. And just want to go really quick through guiding principles, because when we're in breakout rooms, sometimes we share things that are a little bit sensitive. So just a reminder to always be respectful towards the person that is speaking. And that this is a space for discussion, and it's okay to disagree, but remember, let's always do it with respect. If you have something to say, please ensure your small group facilitator's flag, so raise your hand. The presentations and discussions today are confidential, so if people share things that are sensitive, please keep it confidential. And you can submit additional questions or comments. Actually, I didn't do that part, but I will make a QR code and upload it on here in a little bit. And then again, shout out to our steering committee. The mayor already named them out, but if you're on our steering committee, you could raise your hand, give them some love. They've been doing a lot of work. So thank you all, and then we'll continue on.
So really quickly, it feels really strange to give the mayor's vision when he's sitting right here, but I'm going to go over this just so we have something as we're kind of going into discussion later today. So Mayor Johnson's vision, it's supported by our deputy mayors here today and the administration at large. It's to deliver a better, stronger, safer future for Chicago by empowering our youth and communities with access to tools and resources that they need. This vision is powered by all of us. It's in partnership with Chicagoans like yourself. It's informed by data, and the goal is to usher an inclusive and effective governance. The TNT Working Group Ordinance was passed in October of 2023, as some of you would know. The Treatment Not Trauma Working Group Ordinance, again, establishes the working group and tasks it with the responsibility of developing a suggested framework and roadmap to expand mental health clinical services, non-police response, and community awareness of available resources. The deliverable is a report by May 31st that will include budget expansion, capital and facility needs, staffing, recruitment and retention strategies, community input, state and federal legal and regulatory parameters, and metrics to guide implementation and success. Members of the working group who must meet at least 3 times before May 1st include representatives from the Chicago Department of Public Health, Facilities and Fleet Management, Human Resources, the Mayor's Office, the Office of Budget and Management, and the Office of Emergency Management and Communications. Representatives from these departments are present here today and joining us in conversation. Finally, we are required to consult with at least 10 community members. I'm pleased to share that we have surpassed this goal dozens of times over and look forward to your partnership as we finalize the report. I'll go really quickly on this slide. There's a variety of sources that we have consulted as we're pulling together the recommendations of the report. One of these is the Jamboard exercises that some of you have participated in. We've also done office hours, community consult meetings, and documentation and data review to understand best practices. And now I would like to welcome Deputy Mayor Jen Johnson and Mariana Osorio to provide an update on clinical service expansion.
Hi, everyone. Mariana Osorio, First Deputy of Human Services. Deputy Mayor will be up here shortly. Come on up.
Sorry about that, y'all. So good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for being here tonight. I am Jen Johnson. I'm the Deputy Mayor of Education, Youth, and Human Services. And as many people have said, your participation in this is what brings it to life. So Mariana, my First Deputy of Human Services, and I are here to talk about the clinical expansion component of Treatment Not Trauma. And so we'll just quickly show you the scope of the work that was identified by the working group, the subgroup, and the committee consults. I won't read this to you, but we'll highlight a couple of key points. We want to center increasing direct clinical services. We know there is need for additional access that will support the reduction of the most acute needs. When we are able to provide what people need, when they need it, we actually will see the results in our communities. That will, of course, need to include improved coordination and communication within the mental health ecosystem, as well as within departments, which is why the working groups are so important, because we have a cross-representation of the departments. We must also recognize the importance of ensuring that services be culturally affirming, trauma-informed, holistic, and rooted in the needs and experiences of the people, families, and communities. And services should be responsive to the needs and delivered in a variety of modalities, which can include one-to-one services, telehealth, and peer support. We're keenly aware that people have individual preferences for how they receive services, and so we want to make sure services come to them in a number of ways. The next slide shows how we are identifying communities with the highest need for clinic expansion. This equation, right, shows that we will be identifying the highest need communities using data. We're developing heat maps that will allow us to overlay criteria such as existing safety net providers, unmet and met mental health needs and services, socioeconomic factors, and being able to look at our priority communities, such as youth who need increased access. These overlays will provide deeper clarification on the communities who need that clinical expansion. This information will support a phased implementation based on feasibility and the strategies on the next slide. This is a recap. The mayor mentioned these in his remarks, but we are looking at all of these different opportunities to expand services. Some might be easier to stand up than others in the first phase, but we know that it's going to take this multitude of strategies in order to continue expansion beyond 2024. I'll just end by saying that we have a deep commitment to expanding mental health services and being responsive to our communities. Thank you, and I'm going to pass quickly to First Deputy of Human Services, Mariana Osoria.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Johnson. Appreciate that. Yes, big claps. I'm also just going to quickly share a little bit around the values that we've identified together. Many of you were participants in the development of these values that have been helping us in these past several months and that will help us into the next couple months before we get this report out, but more importantly will help us into the future to really think about this, utilizing that co-governance structure. So some of those values are, and you've already heard some of us talk about that, and it's demonstrated in this room, is accessibility. And we're looking at accessibility from a number of ways, from transportation, hours, modalities, cost, utilization of services, et cetera. So we will continue to define that value. Equity, you've heard us say that already many times, and many of you have said back to us. So that looks like things around staffing, being culturally affirming, having language access, locations, and as the mayor indicated, the way that community needs these services, we want to ensure that we are setting up systems to be able to provide them in the way that is best for our communities. These are trauma-informed services. There are warm touches by people in all aspects of the service delivery system, community-led and community-designed with wraparound services, and really looking at the overall mental health system across the city. We've talked many times about being able to reduce barriers, reduce silos, hire from community, expedite hiring, understand the workforce and the skills needed, and engage with departments within the city to be able to streamline those processes so that when we are ready to stand up services and increase those clinical access points, we have the team members that are able to do that from the city end. And then we also want to be coordinated, right? We know that in a large city like Chicago, there are oftentimes, we are all engaged in our work and we can be siloed. We want to intentionally coordinate, and we've heard that from you, to be able to work in partnership with each other. And then the next steps in the work around clinical expansion really are looking at these maps that Deputy Mayor Johnson discussed and overlay that great need and look at what other resources we want to make sure are embedded around these clinical services, determine what that timeline and phase is really going to be for us, and have a robust hiring plan, which has already begun, around recruitment, around retention, and around that pipeline. So not thinking about just what we need today, but what we're going to be needing into the future. And then finally, what does ongoing engagement look like, right? How do we continue to engage the work group, the subgroups, and also you all as a community? So again, I'm very glad to be here with you all, super excited to work in those breakout groups when we get to that point. And let's continue to work and help make this vision real. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to Alderman Gil Villegas for a couple words.
Well, thank you all for coming out this evening. This is important work that my colleague from the 33rd Ward started 4 years ago. And I just leaned over to her because when we were talking about the pilot program, I thought we had been out of the pilot program, and I thought we were already moving in that direction. So I want to thank my colleague for her continuous advocacy on this program that she's brought to our attention over 4 years ago. So thank you for that continued advocacy. She's someone that's really determined about making this program. So again, thank you for the opportunity to come out here. Thank you, Mayor Johnson, for coming out to Belmont-Cragen. As was stated in the room back there in the principal's office, you've been asked to come back out here a couple of times. Real quick about the ward, on this campus specifically, we have about over 5,000 kids that attend the schools in this area. And as you can imagine, the parents, so some free advice. After school, don't come down Fullerton Avenue. It's going to take a minute to get through. But more importantly, we have a lot of resources that are here, and I think these types of programs and really this mode of and method of talking about the program that the community wants is exactly how we want to see it. So thank you for coming out this evening, and I guess I'll turn it over to somebody. I'll turn it over to Deputy Mayor Gary.
Thank you, Alderman, and good evening. I'm up here with my Senior Policy Advisor, Allie Lichterman, to talk a bit. Yeah, I like Allie too. Right? Yeah, listen, love. Right, cool. And we're going to talk about the alternate response model. At the end of last year, Mayor Johnson launched his People Plan for Community Safety, which is an idea that was based on bringing the needs to community as needed and how we build out that design. Yeah, absolutely. There you go. Cool. Bringing the needs to community based on safety and based on the designs there. And this really genuinely aligns so much with treatment, not trauma, so much to the fact that one of the pillars in our People's Plan for Community Safety is the implementation of this model and implementation of treatment, not trauma. This is an approach that we know will make communities safer. The expansion of alternate response is a priority, and I'm proud that the mayor's office and our departments have been working on both a short-term approach to this and a long-term expansion. We're really excited about this overall in general. You can go to the next one so I can show the slide there. Oh, that's not it. There we go. Boom. So a couple of things, right? To have an opportunity to learn not only more about treatment, not trauma, but to learn more about the People's Plan for Community Safety. You can scan that QR code. But more importantly, I'm going to turn it over to our Senior Policy Advisor so she can really dig into a lot of the work that we've been doing hand in hand to move this work forward in partnership with community, our agencies, and our friends over at CARE. So with that, I'll pass it over to Allie Lichterman.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
You can bring that back with you.
Hi, my name is Allie Lichterman, Senior Policy Advisor in the Mayor's Office of Community Safety, and I use she, her pronouns. And I have the privilege of both working with our CARE team and our treatment, not trauma, alternate response subgroup. We've been working really diligently with city stakeholders from the Department of Public Health, Fire, Emergency Management, Fleet and Facilities Management, and Human Resources, as well as our community consults, advocates, partners of other levels of government to build out recommendations that are really visionary but also implementable. And we've had meetings with city staff and all those folks I mentioned to come to agreement on this scope that I'm going to make you listen to me read out loud because I think it's important. The Treatment Not Trauma Working Group recommends the City of Chicago build out permanent alternate response services to meet behavioral health needs. The care provided should be trauma-informed, holistic, and rooted in the needs and experiences of its users, their families, and communities. This report will provide both a vision for citywide alternate response as well as detailed recommendations for how the city can move towards this goal over the next 3 years. And thank you to all of the members of our subgroup who have been meeting at least monthly, if not more, to really help dig in. These, similar to our friends in the Clinical Services Group, have values really guiding our work that, again, came from a combination of our city staff and our community partners and advocates. We're focusing on quality care, community engagement, permanence, and really seeing our alternate response teams as part of the public first responder infrastructure that need to be integrated to do their jobs and provide the care we know they can. Before I hop into talking about what we are talking about for expansion, want to share about what we are already doing in 2024 to expand alternate response. And first want to make sure we're all on the same page about what our care teams do right now, and shout out to many of our care members who are here. It's 3 parts. Pre-response, where mental health clinicians join staff at the city's 911 centers to identify appropriate behavioral health calls. Then we have 3 different in-person response models. I'll note we're phasing one of them out. I'll talk a bit more about that in a minute. And finally, post-response, where we're following up to provide referrals to community resources, care coordination, and non-emergency transport. And the expansion that excitingly is already happening that the mayor provided for in our 2024 budget. We're consolidating care under the Department of Public Health to take an approach that's truly guided by behavioral health best practice and also really help streamline operations. We are rolling off the co-responder model, and we are working towards expanding programmatic hours and geographic reach, which is in the works. And then we'll finish by sharing where we're now headed. Based on subgroup recommendations and community input, we got this guidance from our work from our steering committee members that we are working to invest in a workforce of behavioral health professionals to triage 911 behavioral health calls so that we have folks who really know how to handle these calls that are very particular and different from other 911 calls. We're working towards stronger operational ties between 9811 and our partners at 988, the suicide and crisis line, so that we're able to both dispatch teams and provide over-the-phone support and de-escalation in close coordination. And finally, we're really focused on reaching as many calls with non-police alternate response teams as state regulation will allow us to do safely. So with this guidance, we're now going to move towards finalizing our actionable and operationally feasible recommendations and run them through feedback loops that include both community and our departmental partners. And with that, I will throw it to Noreen to talk about some next steps.
So really quickly, I know we're all eager to jump into our breakout groups, but I did want to recap some of the next steps that are in front of us before we close out this treatment, not trauma process. As our team has shared, we're currently drafting the report recommendations based on the feedback that you provide, our departments provide, and our community consult meetings are providing. We'll share that report with Mayor Johnson and City Council, as is required by the ordinance by May 31st. And finally, we'll share out that report with you all through a robust community engagement strategy. I know Claudia mentioned that there's check marks on your pages. I'm going to let her come up here and explain how the breakout groups are going to go next.
All right, everyone. Time for the discussion. So you have, there are 3 colors in those sheets where it says discussion questions. If you have a pink check mark, you're going to stay here in the cafeteria. Allie, do you want them this side, that side? This, y'all could go over to this side. If you have an orange check mark, you're going to be in room 120. And if you have a blue check mark, you're going to be in room 121. All of them are on this first floor. As soon as you walk out here, you're going to make a right, and the rooms are marked. So pink, you'll stay here in the cafeteria. Orange, room 120. Blue, 121. Now, we have people watching us online. These are the questions you'll be asked. You have printouts. So if you are joining us online and you also want to be in a breakout room, you could go to bit.ly/411TNT, and you will be able to log on. And we have somebody who's going to do a facilitation via Zoom. Give us a few minutes so that we could get over there, but somebody will be with you shortly. And then you could leave from the breakout rooms. We'll be there till about 7:25 or so, or we'll see how the discussion goes. But yeah, pink here, orange, room 120, blue, 121. You could walk down this hallway and you'll have a facilitator and a note taker meet you there. Thank you.